Hi guys, it's Maria de la Cruz and this is my cancer story. 4 years ago, or almost 5, in 2014, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm gonna talk about from the moment that I find out about it to what I did to expedite the process as quickly as possible so I could get the answers that I needed and make the right decisions. I know it's Cancer Awareness Month or Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but you know, I want to just bring awareness to anyone that's dealing with cancer. My cancer was ovarian, and it happened to me obviously at a young age. Normally ovarian it's predominant with women that are like in their 40s or 50s or 60s. The type of cancer that I had, it was a rare type. It only happens to younger women. And my number one thing is that you have to be connected with your body. You have to pay attention. If something is wrong, don't be the type of person that is like, oh, let me just wait 2-3 months, because the key for success when you have cancer is as quickly as possible. Is the way that you act as quickly as possible. So you know, even if you're stage 2 or 3 or 4, there's still hope, there's still things you can do. But the trigger for this is to be able to catch it early. So I had a lump in my stomach and I was like, what is this? I'm not feeling good. I was super tired, not really having energy to do anything. I was dealing with some health issues prior to that, like acid reflux and stuff like that, but then everyone's like, oh, no big deal, you know, shouldn't worry about it. And I just felt like something was really wrong, but I was kind of like, whatever, I just kind of kept going. And one day I just couldn't get out of bed, and like 2-3 days before me not being able to get out of bed, I was at the pool and I saw I had this little lump in my stomach, and I was like, what is this? I thought that it was all kinds of stuff. I thought that I had like a UTI. I thought that I was constipated. And said and done, after visiting a couple doctors and taking like antibiotics and and not really like feeling like it was going away, I was like, I need to go to a general doctor, because they just have like a bigger idea about health issues. So I went to a general doctor, and she was super smart. She was like, this is something that we need to get an image like for it to be able to identify what it is. I think she already knew there was going to be something intense, because she prescribed me like anxiety medication. She's like, this is gonna be a long process, just make sure you take day by day. And I was like, okay, like, you know, just kind of like going with the flow. And said and done, she was right. It was a long journey. And I think because I was, at the time, I was like running a business, and I still am running a business. At the time I was just like really on the roll in terms of like my life and things like that. I just didn't want anything to get in the way, because you know, I know my business needed me and everything. And it's just like, I was like, I just want to deal with this health situation quickly as possible. I never in a million years thought it was going to be cancer. I was like, oh, no big deal. And I was like, let's just go to the next doctor. So then she recommends me to go see another doctor, a gynecologist, oncologist. And right when she wanted me to see an oncologist. Oncology, it's for cancer in the ovary area or around that area. So I was like, okay. So I was like, I kind of knew that something was gonna be intense. So she recommended me to go see the doctor. I went and saw the doctor. He was like, we need to get the mass out of your body, because after they did the MRI and then they did a CT scan, they were able to see there was something there, but they couldn't recognize 100% if it was cancer or not. So they're like, we need to like remove it. So then it was like a big deal. I have to basically, at this point, I ended up calling my parents, because I was like, okay, this seems like it's something a little bit more serious. A little bit about a story about like my family. They live in Panama and I live here. I moved here 10 years ago to go to school, and I ended up staying and having a business. And so they live over there, I live here, and basically we kind of went all into like emergency mode. As soon as I told them, you know, it can potentially be cancer, my parents were like, okay, we need to start researching where to take you so you get seen by the best people, which was a really good idea. So cancer runs in my family, not ovarian but breast cancer. But actually one of my aunts did have an issue with ovarian cancer, and she had a successful recovery, even though her prognosis was really bad. And so we decided to basically go to the same hospital she went, which was MD Anderson, which is the second best hospital for cancer. And I got seen by the same doctor that treated her, she's like a star in that hospital. So I got really lucky to be able to like see her in such a short notice. So we went there, she saw all the scans and everything, and she's like, yeah, it can potentially just be cancer, not like a serious type. It could be a dysgerminoma. It happens to younger women. It's no big deal. You might not even receive chemotherapy. And I was like, okay, no big deal. I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. But then she's like, but I think we're gonna have to cut you from here down to your belly button to be able to make sure that everything is okay. And I'm like, no way, I work in fashion, like you can't cut me open like that. Like, I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm never gonna be able to wear crop tops. I'm like all vanity oriented over here, like thinking about my body, not thinking cancer, hello. So I ended up like, I was like, no way, I need you to, there has to be another way. You need to open me. Like I was like, it needs to happen like I'm having a baby, because I guess my mass, by the time that they removed it, it was like 13 centimeters. It was like, I don't know, it was like this big. It looked like a piece of meat. I know it sounds disgusting, but that's basically what's growing inside of me. And I got lucky because the cancer was inside the mass, so I guess it didn't really spread. It was just like encapsulated. But they couldn't tell me it was cancer until they opened me, they biopsied the mass, and they were like, so the whole entire time I'm like, okay. So I found a doctor that she was willing to do the surgery, like a C-section. So I got the mass removed, and then after that I received a phone call the next day, and she was like, I am so sorry to tell you this, but it is something worse. It's not what we expected. You have a really rare type of cancer. There's only like 100 case studies in the United States, but we have like, I guess like because they're so advanced with cancer, and they were the only hospital that actually had like a better prognosis than everyone else. They're like, you're looking at 30% back in the day, but now we're looking more at 70%. I'm like, 70% chance of survival rate, this is like ridiculous. I'm like, I'm already dead, this is not cool. Like I was just like freaking out. And said and done, it was like stage 2 of like what to do, basically, because it's like first you need to get diagnosed. It's about getting the right diagnosis. When you get diagnosed, and it's like, what's the right treatment? And there was no right answer for the treatment, because there's no treatment, there's no protocol for this type of cancer, just because it's not like as common like a breast cancer or like other types of cancers that are a little more popular. So I had to do a lot of research. I was like, I need all the information you have for all the cases. I went online, and it was awful, you guys. Every store, every website I went, it was like, woman 20 years old, find a mass, received chemotherapy, died after year 2. So it was like everyone that I read their case, it was like that. They were dying. And I read one paper or case study that had 5 girls my age, similar everything, and they decided to go for a different procedure. The procedure was a little more aggressive. It was way more aggressive, and it had way more complications, but it seemed to be the one that seemed to be giving everyone a prognosis. By the time that I was able to read this paperwork, like, or these cases, the girl that lived out of all of them the longest was on her year 5. So there was not even like, no one has ever made it to 10 or more with this type of treatment, because it hasn't really been, there's not a lot of information about this treatment. So I was like, this seems to be the one that I need to take. So once again, I went back and I talked to Dr. Meyer, which, she graduated from Harvard. She's top of her game, and she's like, I agree, this is the treatment that we have to proceed. So she advised to proceed with aggression, and I was like, I'm completely 100% down. And during that time, it's like this treatment, it was like not the kind of treatment that, I don't know if you guys know anything about cancer, but it's like a person that has cancer normally goes to like a facility, and then they sit down in a chair for 2-3 hours, they get injected the IV or the chemotherapy, and then they go home. This one, because this was so intense and it required for me to be hooked on a machine for 3 days, and a drug needed to be like administered for like 24 hours, and every single drug needed to be monitored, and I had to have like people, like nurses, come check like my vital signs and every 50 minutes just to make sure that I was like reacting well to the drugs. So we went ahead and decided to do the 6th drug treatment, and by the time that I was done with the treatment, I was almost like I was useless in terms of like I was so unhealthy. Like I didn't have any energy. I had infections during my period, during the period of the treatment, and I had to like run into emergency room, because when you're dealing with cancer, and especially when you're starting to treat chemotherapy, when you started to do chemotherapy, it lowers your white blood cell count, which protects you from infections. So you're very prone to get sick. So I ended up getting sick. So you have to deal with all the side effects from the chemotherapy. And by the time that I was done with the treatment, I felt like a truck ran over me. And I basically just felt helpless, because the regular medicine doesn't really care about prevention or after the fact. They just only care about you're sick, let me give you medicine, give me my money. And I was like, okay. So I kept going back, and I was like, I'm not feeling good, I'm not feeling good. Why am I feeling this? Why am I having like tingling feeling sensation around my body? Why is it that I'm feeling so hot? Why? And then not to mention that I went into like a premenopausal state, because the chemotherapy was so strong that it basically like induced me into premenopause. And I don't know if you guys know what this means, but it basically means that I was not getting my period, so I was not producing hormones. So I was experiencing what a 60 or 40 something year old woman is experiencing, and I was having all these effects, all this horrible side effects from not being able to produce my own hormones. And I had to go into like artificial hormones, basically, which also led to way more problems, and it leads to cancer eventually. So it was like I don't even want to put any type of hormones in my body, because I was scared that I was gonna not help my recovery. But it was also affecting, like, if you don't produce hormones, it affects so many parts of your body. It doesn't only affect your mood or, you know, your youth, because you need hormones to stay healthy, to stay youthful. You lose your hair, and not to mention that I lost my hair. But by the time that it was like, chemotherapy made me lose my entire hair. But by the time that I got recovered from the chemotherapy, I was done with the chemotherapy, I was losing my hair because I didn't have hormones. So on top of the fact that I was done with chemotherapy and I was dealing with the side effects from the chemotherapy, I was dealing with the side effects from not producing hormones. So for 6-8 months, it was like hell for me. I was like moody, just dealing with all this premenopausal symptoms that I was like not used to. Not to mention that I was, in the top of my head, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to produce babies, because, you know, obviously, like, if you enter stage of menopause, you can't have babies. So I was really sad and just like really concerned. So I was like, I need to do whatever it takes to be able to get better. And I started going the holistic route. So through my search of trying to find ways to feel better, I found this website called Chris Beats Cancer, and oh my god, this guy saved me. Literally, he talked about nutrition, he talked about prevention, he talked about all the things that all the answers that I was seeking. He basically had all of them, and it gave me a point of reference, and I was able to kind of figure it out, you know, what to do. And it's expensive, you guys. Like, holistic medicine is not cheap. Like, it's out of pocket. It's like insurance doesn't cover it. You have to go see doctors, and then normally the cheapest doctor is like $500 a visit. So, you know, it was something that it was like intense, but I was like so ready to feel better. So I did whatever it took. So I went and I found a doctor named Dr. Horani. She had a private practice, and she really helped me with nutrition. She really helped me with administering high doses of vitamin C, which is something that Chris Beats Cancer recommended in his website. He also talked about just doing a cancer fighting diet, which included a bunch of vegetables and juices, and eliminating basically meat and anything processed. So I became vegan for a while, and it was so hard, you guys. Like I literally felt like for 3 months I was like hallucinating carbs. But then after I passed that stage, it was like I was like this like energized bunny, because vegetables and fruits give you a lot of energy. And I was able to recover really fast because she kept monitoring like my progress by doing blood work and making sure that like my vitamins and my minerals and my cholesterol and my heart and everything in my body was like, the numbers were going up. So it's like a science game. It's like, you know, if your number is 1 and you need to be at a 10, you gotta work really hard to get to a 10. So I kept eating really healthy, and I kept like getting my numbers to getting better. So I eventually got to the point where I went to the doctor at MD Anderson, because after I was done with when I was in MD Anderson, I ended up deciding to get the treatment here in LA at Cedars-Sinai. And by the time that the doctor here at Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Walsh, she was so surprised about my recovery, because she was like, normally people don't recover this fast. So I gave a lot of my success to my recovery, even though to her it was like, oh, you recover really fast, but to me it felt like a gazillion years, because I was like a year and a half into it and I was still feeling crappy. And she's like, yeah, normally chemotherapy like takes time, it takes 1 to 2 years for you to start feeling normal. So on top of the fact that you do all this 6 months of misery, receiving drugs every three weeks and being hospitalized and receiving these drugs, you know, and then feeling like crap, then you have to deal with 2 more years of recovering and not feeling good and not feeling healthy. So, you know, depending on your state of health and how good you are prior to getting cancer, you know, you don't feel as bad. I definitely was a skinny mini, so definitely I don't think that helped, because I was not very like focusing my life in like nutrition. I was focusing mainly on trying to be thin and just making sure I was not eating too much like this and too much of that. So I was not really, so I went with what Chris said on his website, saying, you know, overdose on vegetables, overdose and juices and fruits, and that's what I did, and it really helped. But during this period, you know, it doesn't only affect the person that gets the cancer, also the people around the person that gets the cancer gets affected by it. So, you know, definitely having people to support you during this period is extremely important. During my time, I chose to be private. Before all of that, I was a public figure. You know, I was running Hot Rebellious, which was very successful. At the time, it was a lot going on with that business, and it's still, you know, I still have it, it's still going on. I'm still kind of picking up the pieces, because I had to basically step back for almost like a year. I had to step back to just focus mainly on recovering and making sure that my body was okay, because I realized that without health you have nothing. So you can have a business, you can have everything else going on, but if you don't have health, you can't really function. So during the time that you know, even though, you know, I kept it quiet and private, people did find out that I had it eventually, and then, you know, I did end up sharing, and I didn't feel supported by a lot of people. I felt like a lot of people kind of like treated me like, oh, you're done, like, you know, you're out of this game. And, you know, I feel like after I came back from the cancer, you know, everything happens for a reason. Not to say that, you know, this happened to me intentionally, but it's like, because I had it was a genetic thing. But I do know that I was engaging not in the best lifestyle habits, just because I was not eating healthy, not really taking care of my stress, not really sleeping the right amount of hours, just partying like crazy, just living like a crazy lifestyle. If you just picture it, it's like a 20-year-old person in LA, being successful, doing, you know, it's like everything is at your fingertips, so you just basically go and do it. So I just went crazy. I was just doing my own thing, just living life, thinking that nothing was gonna happen to me, and suddenly boom, I got hit with, like, you know, don't ever underestimate your health, because you never know when something is gonna happen to you. So I had to wake up and realize that I needed to make some huge life changes, which I did. And but that feeling of not feeling supported, and almost like people made me feel like, oh, like you're down, like I'm gonna take your place now, it really hurt me, and it really made me feel like I wanted to come back with a purpose, because you don't have to be mean to become successful. You can be a nice person. And I decided that I wanted to be like Oprah. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's like I want to influence people to be better. I want to influence people to be strong when this type of things happen, because this hasn't been easy. I'm still picking up the pieces, but I'm learning from this. And instead of just saying, okay, I'm gonna be depressed forever and I'm just gonna give up, I kept fighting, and I'm still fighting. And I know eventually one of these days I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be like, oh my God, like it just happened, and I can just use it to help others like I'm doing it right now. And it took me this long to get to this part, because definitely it was a very sensitive subject for me, and I had to sacrifice a lot, and I had to learn a lot, and I have to get to know myself a lot, just because this type of experiences really test you and really show you like who you really are. And it's taking me like a while to put all the pieces together and realize that, you know, we all have a purpose in life. And sometimes when bad things like this happen, it's because there is a bigger message, there's a bigger mission, it's a bigger something ahead. And I think that my calling in this world is to influence people in a good way. And even though, you know, God gives us different talents, and for many people there are different things, but for me it's like, you know, I'm very creative, I have really good social skills, and I'm very I have a lot of energy and expressive. It's like basically utilize those talents to help and to be able to help others, to not lose faith, to stay strong, to fight adversity, and to never give up. Because at the end of the day, cancer is like the worst thing that can happen to someone, and it happened to me, and I didn't lose hope. And look at me today, I am happy again, I'm smiling again, I'm optimistic about the future, and I'm picking up my pieces, and I'm gonna use my story to inspire others and hopefully save a life or two if I can. So going back to the cancer subject, if you know anyone that's dealing with cancer, please let them know about nutrition. Nutrition is extremely important. It's all over the internet. It's just, it only takes 1 second to just be like cancer fighting diet and just look at it, and then just don't be lazy. Cook those vegetables. Don't be like, oh, I want pizza. Don't eat processed food. Don't eat anything that has sugar. A lot of food converts into sugar. Study that. Make sure that you understand what an alkaline diet is versus an acidic diet, and stick to having an alkaline diet, because cancer can grow in alkaline bodies. It is Cancer Awareness Month. Like, you guys have all the tools. We all have all the tools to put good nutrition into our bodies, not for the people who only have cancer, but just for everyone in general, just to live a healthy life, to be able to just not deal with disease in period. And you know, in during this process, I learned that, you know, the reason why they haven't found the cure for cancer is because it's not beneficial for the drug business and all the machines and the hospital industry, because they make so much money out of using the medicines and using the chemotherapy and the machines. So it's like they don't want to invent the cure. I found there's a vitamin that is illegal in the United States because it's known to cure cancer. It's called B17. You cannot go anywhere. If you go to Whole Foods, they don't sell anything that has B17 in it, and you have to order it online. That's the only way you can get it. So the way that you get B17 is through apricot kernel seeds. You take 10 of those, and you know, I take those every day because it helps you fight cancer. Another easy way to fight cancer is 1 clove of garlic a day. Just chop it up and let it sit for 5 to 10 minutes so it just activates, and then you can eat it with your eggs or salad, whatever. You know, garlic tastes good in food, so just learn to like the flavor. It's a little potent, but you know, that basically means it's working. It's really good. It's an antibacterial, and it helps you shrinks tumors. I also did a lot of juicing, and the magic juice for cancer is carrots, beets, and celery. You drink that every single day, and you know, you see your progress. It's like there's so many people that have been sent home to basically pass away because they're stage 4, stage 5, and then they have no other choice than to just simply go the holistic route, and they're still here. So that gave me so much courage and so much enthusiasm to keep going and to actually change my diet and change my lifestyle. So I 100% encourage any one of you, if you have cancer or you don't have cancer, to just stick to a good healthy diet, because you can prevent a lot of things by just doing that. And I had to learn it the hard way. So I know it's Cancer Awareness Month. I just simply wanted to share my story because I hope that I can help someone and encourage someone to maybe change their lifestyle. It doesn't matter if it's cancer or not. Having a healthy diet can completely help you if you have any other type of disease. Just do the research. The information is available online. If you have any questions, obviously you can message me. I love you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to my story. I literally didn't feel strong until now to tell you this. Just talking about it gives me goosebumps. Just trying to like go back in time and think about everything. It's like, oh, I just really want to put it behind me, but at the end of the day, it's something that I have to carry with me forever. And what a better way to just tell the story and hopefully bring awareness to people and so you guys understand that this is not easy for anyone that's dealing with it, and to be compassionate and sensitive, because I was very out of touch with what cancer was until it happened to me. And then when it happened to me, it made me really realize how difficult it is to deal with cancer. And do not mess around with not having insurance. You have to have health insurance, like 100%, otherwise you're not gonna have the option to seek good doctors and be able to seek like the best treatment if that's what you want. So I love you guys. Thanks again for watching and for listening to my story, and let's fight against cancer with healthy food. All right, bye.